Yeah, so my son started a year and a half ago, and he worked all summer, and it was two of his fraternity brothers. The one guy, his dad was the VP, and they got to intern for the summer. And what they were doing was they were getting leads, and they were working on LinkedIn to try to promote demos for their new system. So one thing I told my son was, I said, you just outwork those guys, make more calls, make more effort, and that's all you need to do. Well, he was blowing him away. They ended up having the CEO give him his LinkedIn account, and he basically was reaching out to people as the CEO. So by the end of the summer, when he went back, it was mid-COVID. So they weren't doing live classes. He's in Athens, which isn't a bad place to be, but during COVID, not as fun as usual.
Right.
So I said, you ought to reach back out. So they ended up hiring $18 an hour, 20 hours a week, and he worked all through the school year. Then he had summer, and then he worked, and then he graduated last December and got a full-time job. But one thing I always told him, and this is what I thought when I was at Sprint, was I'm just going to work harder than the guy next to me. I'm going to make sure I'm the top caller, and that's it.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Oh my gosh, it's another episode of the Small Business Safari. We're going again, but this time Alan says, Chris, I need a new format because, why? Because I just want to throw you a curveball. I'm like, oh, great, Alan, this is going to be a lot of flipping fun. Can't wait for this. So he said, I'm not even going to tell you who my guest is. I'm just going to bring him in. And so we have, just like Smartless, a surprise guest. So Alan.
Do I need to, this guy has won an Emmy, an Oscar, a Tony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know him. I think I did a movie with him. And what else do they do? They named like 75 things they did.
Have saved thousands of people in mud huts.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Oh, I think I did that.
They went to the moon and back.
I missed that episode. Was I not? No, I was not on that space shuttle. I was on a different one. I mean, they always have a connection. You're like, really? And I don't have that either.
You need to get over your jealousy of Smartless.
No, I will not.
One more.
I'm coming after them.
Go to your therapist. One more therapist visit.
Well, it's going to take a lot more than that. But don't worry, I have plenty more scheduled.
So you were. So we, you know what they do on Smartless is they talk about nothing before they bring in the guests.
Yeah.
So I'm tired of hearing about Vegas, but not really hearing about Vegas.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, we fly out on Friday. We go right to our room. My buddy surprised us, so we get a suite overlooking the Bellagio water feature. We're in the Cosmopolitan. It's the three of us all together, and the whole time he had us baked. We were thinking it was going to be a different thing. Then we go downstairs and we start gambling. The minute we walk up, the three guys we're meeting from Detroit, one of them just hits for $4,000 on the craps table, and we're like, and the weekend, here we go. And so we take off Friday night, great night. We had a great meal, and then we go out and we started doing bets. And one of our friends doesn't bet at all, and we like playing blackjack. And he says, "I'm not going to do blackjack, and you guys do blackjack all you want. I'm just going to do it." And then we were like, "We got to do it." And he goes, "No, I'm not going to do it." He goes, "I'm going to go over and bet games." I'm like, fine. So the long story short, and going all the way to fast forward to the end, he's up $700 flying back from Vegas, and the rest of us are not. But we played blackjack. We bet a bunch of things. I will tell you, if you watch sports football, and we do the NFL, we went to an awesome sports book. It's called Circa. TV's going everywhere. Guys just going crazy, and women.
What games did you have when you were there?
So we were there for the divisional playoffs. So we got to see Bills Bengals was.
Oh, good Lord!
Yeah, we got to see Chiefs Jags. Eagles was a blowout. And then the 49ers Cowboys.
Yeah.
All right. So on the Jags game, and the Chiefs, again, I don't gamble games a lot, but when you do, I put $100 on it.
Were you doing prop bets and stuff?
Oh, I did 100 prop bets.
Were people betting on the Cowboys kicker?
No, but I didn't bet on that one. I couldn't find that bet. I bet on Gabriel Davis going over for the Bills in the snow. And you won't remember this, but I will. He was on a 25-yard out, and he needed 20 yards. He was on a 25, not an out. He was doing a sideline Z route up, and he was wide open. He only needed 20 more yards to go to the over. He gets the ball, gets in his hands, and the guy comes up and he drops it.
I saw that.
And you've never heard me yell louder than anything. I jumped out of my seat so hard, and the other guy who bet with me, I'm like basically beating him, and he's like, "Chris, I'm on the same team." I'm like, "I know, but I'm so bad." And how about this at the end? And this is what I was getting at. If you don't think Vegas is in on this thing and conspiracy theory stuff, let me tell you what happened.
Oh, are you saying you were officially screwed by Vegas?
Watch this.
Okay.
So the Chiefs Jags game, it was a 9.5 point spread, 7.5 point spread. How much did the Chiefs win by? 7. Why? Because at the end of the game, with 50 seconds left, Doug Peterson went for a field goal instead of trying to go in for 7. And I'm like, and he lines up. The whole time I'm sitting in the chair, I'm sitting in the booth, and I'm like, there's no way he goes for 3. I mean, who goes for 3? I mean, if you play football, you play to win. You go get the 7. You know, I played football all my life. You go for 7. I played in college. You go for 7. You go for 7, Doug. You didn't go for 7, Doug. And so that's all you heard the whole time. I just started walking around the sports.
Are you
Raymond.
officially in our top 10 podcast saying Doug Peterson is on the take?
Doug Peterson's on the take. I am right now. But I walked around circle like Raymond. You go for 7, Doug. You go for 7, Doug. You go for 7, Doug.
Raymond.
It was just like that. So we actually went, and this was the coup d'etat. We went to the Golden Steer for dinner. And if you've ever been to Vegas or ever heard about it, Vegas was built on the mafia moving out there. Everybody knows that story, and that's how the gambling began. But the Rat Pack really began, the aura around it, and people starting to flock to it, right? The Rat Pack used to always go to the Golden Steer to have dinner after their shows. And this is it is a very famous place, very hard to get a ticket to get there. You got to book this thing out like a year to get there. And my buddy gets it. And we had dinner at the Golden Steer. It was so bad because I had to pay. I didn't have to, but I paid for the 3 of us coming from Atlanta. Unfortunately, I forgot that I was using the same credit card that my wife sees, and I immediately got a text going, "Good dinner, huh?" And I was like, she goes, "Was that for the entire weekend?"
What'd you drop on dinner?
It was a mortgage payment. Yeah, but it was good.
Right.
And this wine we had was called Aperture. It was great. Then I'll just give you one last quote. At the end of the night, the guy from Detroit, who I didn't know very well, looks at me and says, "Wow, you really work yourself across a lot of different drinks," because we had been drinking through all the football games, went to dinner, had wine. After dinner, gone off and went gambling. And at the tables, I was doing gin and tonics. I was doing margaritas. I did an old fashioned. I was just working all the way around. I said, "Mike, if you're not working yourself across the bar, you're not working." I mean, I said, "You know what? You just got to work hard, buddy." And here I am on Thursday going, I can't believe I did that.
How was Monday?
Monday was a tough get up. So I got up, ate as much greasy food as I could find, and then had to get on the airplane. And I made it.
It's always funny. The plane to Vegas is so full of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Optimism.
I had somebody buying me drinks on the way out there.
Oh yeah.
On the way back.
So much fun.
They're like, "What would you like, sir?" Water.
It's like a funeral plane on the way back.
Oh, it was. I put the movie on. I had my headphones in so fast. Usually the one who chats when you sit down.
Yeah.
I had my headphones in the whole way.
Yeah.
And I was like, just don't talk to me, don't look at me, and probably you don't even want to smell me, because I'm not sure how I smell right now.
Probably not good.
I was a big rotting grape, but yes.
On that
here's the good
note.
news. I get to go back. I get to go back in 3 months or 2 months to do a presentation. Let me just tell you that trip to Vegas is going to be a lot different than this trip, because I got to present on the last day I'm there. That means I got to keep my shit together for 3 days before I present.
That is a tough slot.
I am telling you, man. When I saw
you
my
didn't want to
slot,
be first or last, but last is tough in Vegas.
Wow. And I was like, really? You're putting me in the last day of the conference in the morning? I'm like, oh, come on. I said, not only are they going to be sleeping, but now I got to lock myself in the room because they're, Discipline? No. You can control yourself,
Self-control?
right? No. So I got to lock myself in the flipping room for 3 days.
You need an accountability partner.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
You want me to be your accountability?
No,
partner?
I got to find somebody else. Oh
Okay.
my God, I got to find somebody who's going to actually make me not drink.
How about Tim?
Well, who's Tim?
Tim's our guest today.
Oh my God, who's our guest?
Tim Duff.
Tim Duff.
Yeah, he's won an Emmy and an Oscar. No, he is a dear friend of mine, 10 years. And the reason why I wanted him on the podcast was, and he's a bundle of fun. Fun Tim is what we call him. So be fun, Tim.
No pressure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no pressure. Great sales guy all his life, and transition from being a sales guy to, you know what, I'm going to start my own damn company. And he's just crushing it. He was on the cutting edge of his industry. I think he does things a little bit differently. It's an industry that is extremely competitive, could be highly commoditized, and yet for whatever reason, he just keeps rolling sevens. Is that what you want to roll?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is 7 the good one?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't do craps. I want.
It would have been good if I could have just said that with confidence, but
That's
anyway,
awesome.
Tim, good to have you
Tim,
here.
welcome, Tim.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
Tim, it's so exciting. I mean, I should have a lot of questions for you.
Well, and I want to tell the listeners one more thing. So, if anybody's listened on a regular basis, which I know people around all 15 continents are doing that, it's a little inside joke. But Chris is the human hummingbird, but Tim is also a human hummingbird, and so I have a feeling once you guys start talking, I'll just sit here and watch.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So, I was told that if you have one hummingbird feeder out there, you can't do that. You need to have two, because you can't have just one, because the hummingbirds are so territorial and going around there. So we have two hummingbirds and just one feeder.
So hummingbirds are bastards?
I guess. I don't know. I heard that story. Or somebody's trying to sell me a second hummingbird feeder. I don't know.
I don't know. 2 hummingbirds and a sloth or a koala is what this podcast will be.
I love it. Tim, welcome. So
Thanks.
I guess the first question is, where the hell are you from?
I was born in Detroit.
Oh my God. Hello. Did you know that?
A brother from another mother.
There you go. Yeah.
He's from the mother country. All right. Where in Detroit?
Wall Lake, just outside of northwest part of the city.
10-4. All right. And where'd you go to college?
University of Georgia.
Okay. You left Michigan to go to Georgia.
Well, I left when I was 7 because my parents went to Kentucky.
Oh,
I've been here since I was 13, so this is home. And then went to Georgia, and this has been home ever since.
Oh, Georgia. You mean the 2-time national championship Go Dogs, Georgia?
Yeah. Ironically, what's
really
funny is, let me tell you a little story about what kind of dovetailing on what you just said. Flying out to LA for the game, I'm next to my son. We got double Jack and Cokes. I take a picture of the little thing with all the Jack and sent to my wife. I'm away to the game. So on the way back, she goes, "You drinking?" And I had Life Water and ginger ale. It was the same setup, and I sent it back. So it was like
Just like Vegas.
I was on the flight, just going. In 4 hours, I'll be in bed. I'll be home soon.
Oh my God! So you went to the national championship game?
Yeah, it was
amazing
great.
experience.
Both
And
of
you got to
them.
go with your son.
He went to both of them.
And
You've been to both. Okay.
So my kids, my son's 24, my daughter's 21. I think that's pretty close to you guys. So
it is exact ages of mine.
Yep. So my son graduated in December 2021, and so I took him to the Natty last year.
Oh, my God.
So it's been great sharing that with him because it's a passion. You get to go and it's a lot of fun because he really cares about it too. So it's been great.
Wow, what a great thing to share with your kids.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the photos Tim sent were unbelievable. I mean, just absolute joy, tears, just body parts flying in 10 different directions. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So question I got for you then.
Sure.
SoFi. Liked it? Go back again?
I was really expecting like something unbelievable, and it was beautiful. It sucked because it was raining.
Yeah,
it rained inside the place because it's not a dome. It's a outdoor stadium with a roof built over it. And luckily we were in a dry spot, but the rain just was misting in. So if you were up on that side, you were soaked. And then the worst part was they had leaks in the ceiling that was over the 100 section. So people that were paying $3, $4, $5 a seat were getting rained on.
Oh my God.
Whoops.
I just met with I don't know if again listen to Georgia Bulldogs radio, Neil Hondo Williamson. He is the director of research for WSB, and I was at a presentation he gave, and I got a picture with the Natty ring from last year. But he was saying the same thing, is that we kept hearing in the press box people were getting rained on.
Yeah.
And he said he actually he made it sound like, if I don't have to go there again, I probably won't.
If
And
it,
it's on my list, man. I gotta go.
If it was a sunny day, it would have been amazing, because the way the roof structure is built, I'm actually kind of a geek with architecture. I watch a 2-hour kind of special on how they built it, and it's amazing how they actually constructed the roof. It's phenomenal. And so it's translucent, but it reflects the heat. So what's nice is on a sunny day, it's beautiful, it's open, but it's not hot. And then they have these vents at one end of the stadium that allows the air from the ocean to either go through or not go through. So they can really dial that in. Yeah, it's amazing what they did, because you're thinking there's no AC. Okay, so what if it's 95 degrees and it's pretty nice. So rainy and cold,
it rains like 3 days a year.
Yeah,
I know that. And that was the big damper on it. I mean, it's just, they're not used to the rain.
Damper, good word.
Thank
Chris.
you.
Yeah.
Well, I try to key things in. All right, so you go to UGA.
Yep.
And you came out, and what'd you do after that?
So I came out, I graduated in 87. And at the time, the telecommunication role was kind of blowing up. So I thought that's what I want to do. And I worked for Sprint for a year, and that was miserable, but I got a year in.
And 87 Sprint, way different. Well, now it's T-Mobile, but I actually knew some people then. Yeah, what a different company.
And so it was kind of a thing where, and when I was looking for outside sales, everyone wanted you to work inside 2 to 3 years. Sprint said 6 months and you go outside. Well, inside sales is telemarketing, basically. So I was number 2 out of 1,300 reps in the country, making good bonuses, making good money.
Are you kidding me? How long did you tell them?
Wait a minute.
I never knew this.
You got a 4-year degree, and your first job was literally working in Wally's basement, or what was we had a guest on
Ron's
you were
apartment.
in Ron's apartment next to his bed. Guy gets a 4-year degree in his first job.
Yep.
And I looked on LinkedIn, and he goes, my first job? I'm like, I know your first job. He goes, I don't think you do.
Yeah.
And he spills it. And his sister is on LinkedIn too. And we put that out there, and she went, I can't believe you told that story. But he literally was a telemarketer for a guy selling seats to a basketball.
Yeah, corporations selling seats for small college, seats that Ron bought for $5, and he was trying to sell them for $10.
Dialing for dollars, and at the end of Ron's bed, and couldn't use Ron's bathroom, had to go out and go down the hallway to the public bathroom. So you came out of Georgia, and you're at Georgia, and you're like, go Dogs. 87, they had won the national championship earlier. Georgia was very well known here in Atlanta at the time. Of course, it's a great, amazing academic school.
I think Georgia's always been well known in Atlanta.
Yeah, but not the rest of the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in fact, I've had to explain it to my son. You can't just tell everybody in Spain you go to UGA. They don't know what that means, because he said, well, but they won the national championship. I'm like, yeah, that means nothing. But they are more nationally known clearly now for being a great, and in fact, they're known for being a great academic institution.
Yep. Yeah, not in the 80s when I was there.
Yeah.
Or else I would not have been there.
Check the box. I've had a bunch of my friends say the same thing. Hey, if it was like that today, I'd be at Georgia State.
So you were number 2 out of 1,300 people cold calling people on the phone.
Yeah. So it's one of those things is, I knew it was going to be miserable when I started, but I thought if in 6 months I can get outside, this will kind of get me going. And it was right when, I don't know if y'all remember this term, equal access was going. And what it was they just broke up AT&T and the Bells. So it was the first time you could choose a long distance company. So it was right when that was happening. So it was like shooting fish in a barrel in a lot of cases. But the problem is after you made a sale, they had a qualifier that would call them back to make sure they knew they got long distance service from Sprint and they understood. And there was this little thing where your long distance bill had to be $25. So you had to creatively come up with, now what's your phone? Your phone bill's over $25, right? Well, yeah, but well, they're going to call and ask. I just want to make sure that you're, so you had to be a little creative, and then you had people that would, cuss at you. I'm so sick of, people calling me. But if you pitched it right, it wasn't a hard sell. And so people were like, oh, that's great. And so we did really well. And then after the first 6 months, they announced that because the inside sales group, telemarketing, was doing so well, they were no longer bringing people into their star account, which was their outside sales group. So I stuck it out for a few more months. And then after 9 months, they made me a national account rep. So instead of calling mom and pop, accounts in little towns, which were easy to sell, you're now calling corporations.
9 months out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Wow.
So So I was going to make it to 1 year. It was miserable, but I made great money. I was like, that was like making good money at the time. So I was like,
Probably
okay,
like 35 grand back then or something.
oh no. When you got out of school, if you could make 20, that was the number. So my base was 16.5 and ended up making 27. So I mean, I couldn't
In
piss money
today's
away.
world,
Freaking
right?
rolling.
Think about
Oh,
those
I
numbers,
was
dude,
rolling.
and he was balling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Brother.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting bottle service at the bar.
Oh no, it was
Strippers
great.
on me. Hey, where's the Gold Club? Oh, whoops. I mean, hypothetically, I know you guys are Christians, and
They look Christians in the Gold Club.
yeah, right. And I'm Catholic, so I get to go to the Gold Club
That's
on
how I
Friday.
started.
Yeah,
I
all
started
and
you just have to do a couple rosaries
yeah,
and you're good.
Saturday morning, I'm all good.
Yeah.
It's all given away. All right, dude. I'm telling you, if you would have said coming out of school, Chris, and I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it.
Mm-mm.
I would not have had the fortitude, or I wouldn't have done it. I would have said, no, not screw you. I'm going to do something else. I couldn't have done it. I mean, I would have pulled my hair out.
Well,
done.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And I did it for other
Well,
reasons. Well,
yeah, we're all
So you
hair
get it.
part of the
brothers.
club.
Yeah.
But all right, so you did it. But kudos to you for actually sticking it out. And you, like you said, you're I'm balling and making big money. But dude, that's still hard.
That job
you got to work
sucks.
hard.
it was, and you had to be at work at 8, not 8:01, and it was suit and tie, telemarketing, suit and tie every day.
No
Nice.
kidding.
Yeah. So
that's
there-
hardcore.
There were many nights that it was like 4 a.m, and I'm like, I got to get up in 2.5 hours to go to work, and but you just sat at your desk. And one thing you also learned how to do is you learned how to sit at your desk with your phone set up and sleep sitting up. That was you could sit there.
Life skill.
Yeah, it was
So-
beautiful.
Learning life skills, bro.
Yeah, there you go.
2 out of 1,300 and he's sleeping at his desk.
What's
What
that
did I do?
So
Well,
well, about who he's up against.
But so it was one of those things you had to make 120 calls a day.
Yeah.
So so you had this little machine. It was a phone, but it was also
Auto
track.
dialers.
So and it had to connect. So you could sit there, go connect. So I'd make like 50 calls and then take a nap, but you still had to sell. And then we went through some waves though. You'd hit an area that they were just getting equal access. And that was easy. You could sell, tons and tons of calls. And then what really kind of changed it was a friend of mine showed me that he goes, okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. He would go to the Atlanta Public Library, get phone books from cities that were just getting equal access. We would make photocopies and we would use those as our leads because the leads that Sprint gave you were just recycled over and over. So we'd found towns that were getting ready to get it that no one was calling on yet. So these guys are like, oh yeah, we'll say, oh, this is great. So that's where we put in the extra effort.
Where's that guy?
Huh?
Where's that guy
I
today?
haven't talked to him, Bryan.
Dude, I want that guy.
Oh yeah,
That
Bryan
guy's
Allen.
thinking out of the box.
Yeah,
And I love that you stole his idea. Now you are clearly a consultant because you took somebody's idea, stole it, made it your own, and told everybody how awesome it was.
well,
No,
he
I'm
brought me down. But it was one of those things, and so it was the same advice I gave my son when he started an internship 1.5 years ago.
Wait a minute. Is he really talking about internships and his son after he did telemarketing? How the hell does he know what he's talking? All right. Internship, son. What?
Yeah, so my son started 1.5 years ago, and he was able to. He worked all summer, and it was 2 of his fraternity brothers. The one guy, his dad was the VP, and they got to intern for the summer. And what they were doing was they were getting leads, and they were working on LinkedIn to try to promote demos for their new system. So one thing I told my son was, I said, you just outwork those guys, make more calls, make more effort, and that's all you need to do. Well, he was blowing him away. They ended up having the CEO give him his LinkedIn account, and he basically was reaching out to people as the CEO. So by the end of the summer, when he went back, it was mid-COVID. So they weren't doing live classes. He's in Athens, which isn't a bad place to be, but during COVID, not as fun as usual.
Right.
So I said, you ought to reach back out. So they ended up hiring $18 an hour, 20 hours a week, and he worked all through the school year. Then he had summer, and then he worked, and then he graduated last December and got a full-time job. But one thing I always told him, and this is what I thought when I was at Sprint, was I'm just going to work harder than the guy next to me. I'm going to make sure I'm the top caller, and that's it.
Boom.
Gold
That's
nugget.
the gold nugget right there.
Oh.
I know Alan just wanted to make this all about fun, but Tim couldn't help himself. He's got to add some value. You know what? I don't care the task you're given.
Yeah.
Dude, just do better than the other guy. Show up in the morning. I don't care if you get up and you only have 2 hours of sleep. Show up, do better than the other guy, and guess what? Good things happen. It doesn't happen tomorrow. It doesn't happen in
Right.
6 months.
Did it happen Monday?
It didn't happen Monday. Yeah, but you know what? I still showed up at work on Tuesday. Let's just say the trust
job.
didn't get 100% of
So
Chris.
compared to somebody else who is majorly hammered in Vegas, you did better on Tuesday.
I think so. I think
Okay.
I definitely outworked the Vegas crew that was working as hard as me. All right.
Oh, let's fast forward.
Yeah. Let's fast forward to you go the corporate America route. What'd you do? Just give us a quick snippet on that.
Okay, I'll jump through this real quick. And I know this sounds funny that I'm going back, but my whole family was in lighting. My mom worked at a lighting showroom. So when I was in high school, I worked in the warehouse, building lights, hanging chandeliers in showrooms and helping pull orders and all that. And so it was something that was fun, made a little money. When I graduated, lighting was the only thing I wasn't going to do. I was going to get in any career other than lighting.
Oh, no kidding.
That was the only thing because my brother was in it, my stepfather was in it, and I said, I'm not doing that. So what ended up happening was when the Sprint thing just became just unbearable, my sister was working for a residential lighting rep agency. And so what they did, we called them lighting showrooms and represented lines. So I went to work there for a year. That business went under. So I kind of got a taste of lighting, but I was like, I don't like the residential side. I kind of like the commercial side. And I ended up at Lithonia Lighting, which is now a Cutie Brands Lighting. But the funny thing was every time people thought I worked for a lighting showroom in Lithonia called Lithonia Lighting. But it was the biggest lighting company in North America and at different points in the world out in Conyers. So I went to work there. I worked in the shittiest little department and division that we had. It was the worst, but I had to get in.
What's the worst department in lighting?
Okay, so we have all these cool light fixtures and things that do great things. I was working at a division that basically had pluggable wiring systems that plug fixtures together. And it's like it couldn't be more boring, industrial. And I was, I had been more decorative, and so it was awful. But I worked there 2 years, and then my break came when they built a training center. And one thing Lithonia was known for was being very conservative. And at the time, it was in 90, they built a $2 million training center. And I got to be the first guy to work there and run programs. What it allowed me to do was every time we had different product groups there, I got to see how everybody presented. I learned about all the products. And because it was kind of our showpiece, every time the CEO, president, VPs would bring customers in, I got to do tours and show them the whole place. So now I went from being in the most obscure little group to now being one of the higher profile people in the company. And it really changed my whole career trajectory, because then I started having people wanting me to be in their group and be in their division. And the coolest thing was that was the first of 3 jobs in a row that had never existed there. So I was the first one to run the lighting center. I learned about creating training content. I got to present a lot, and that was a lot of fun. And then the next 2 jobs I had were new sales groups that they were kind of putting together. And I was the first guy in each of these groups. So I kind of got the rep of like, hey, we have a new program, new group. Let's bring Tim in. And so it just kind of one led to the other. And so working there 13 years was amazing. I got to do sales and marketing. And then a kind of a funny story, how the last job I had was product development, which is totally counterintuitive to everything I did, because I was always sales and marketing.
Right.
And it was one of the fledgling divisions, but our biggest competitor, that was their number 1 division, and we're going to go after these guys. So what ended up happening was the product manager position opened, which is pretty boring. But my boss, and I told my boss when he asked, he goes, you got to go take this job. I go, no, I'm not taking it. It's horrible. I was working in sales, playing golf 4 times a month. I was traveling all over the country. And I said, I can't do it. He goes, Tim, somebody has to care. Like, but
somebody has to care.
Why does it have to be me?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be me, bro. I got to play some golf, bro. All right. So let me get this straight. So you started in Sprint, and then you went to lighting because you hated lighting, because your whole family did lighting, and you stayed in lighting. And today you're still in lighting.
Yes.
I mean, it's in his blood, because
holy shit,
you've got this weird little circle here, Chris, in our studio. Whose alarm is that?
My God, did I do it again? Hang on. You
just
keep going.
Just for the listener. So Chris, being kind of a big deal, has started marketing on the largest radio station in the Southeast. And apparently they send an alert every time your voice, which, by the way, I noticed you didn't get a celebrity voice to do your ads. You had to do it yourself, you freaking narcissist.
I'm so narcissistic. They actually played to this narcissism. They said, we think you'd be the best spokesperson for your own brand. And I went, of course I will.
There's nobody that would be more enthusiastic about your brand.
Yeah, that was good. All right. So you're still in lighting. You do all this. You got this track record, and then you said, hey, screw you, Lithonia. I love making all this money and playing golf for 4 days a week. And now I'm going to start my own business.
No, there's a jump in between there. So worked for the factory, and it was great. I learned a lot. Great company. I thought that being in corporate world was great. And I always heard people bitch about it. And I was never one of those entrepreneurial guys going, I have to do my own thing.
So you never thought entrepreneurship was for you.
See, and that's one of the things I love about having him here today. Because Tim, we've talked a lot about there's entrepreneurs that come from entrepreneurial. Boy, that was a bourbon infused entrepreneurial.
Don't worry, everybody. He is Vegas.
Yeah, there are people that just have always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and then there's other entrepreneurs that are forced to be entrepreneurs. And
lose their jobs, get displaced,
right.
Have no other way to go. Yeah, right. So they're forced into entrepreneurship.
Well, and like my son, he wants to run his own company someday, and he doesn't even know what it is. He's already talking about it. But what happened with me is I really had a great track record corporately, and then the way the lighting business goes to market is they don't have factory hired sales.
Does he want to buy a handyman business?
He might. I don't know. So the way lighting goes to business is there's independent lighting reps. So there's a company in each market. So in Atlanta, there was a company that represented Lithonia / Acuity in North Georgia, and in all the markets there's an Acuity rep. So I went to work for that agency because kids are little, tired of traveling, and I can stay in a local market. But the other thing too is when you travel around the country, we go play golf, and it was a lot of fun and all that, but it wasn't very fulfilling. Like, what am I actually doing? Am I accomplishing anything? So the nice thing is when I went to go work for the local agency, I called on engineers, architects, corporate interior designers, and I would help them with lighting design, and they were my accounts I called on regularly. So now the relationships I have with them actually were kind of, turning into actual dollars and sales. And so I got to do what I was really, really love to do. But now I was actually able to do it here locally, not a lot of travel. And it was my passion. The tough thing was the guys who had bought the local agency already had a second layer of ownership in there. So I knew I would never be an owner. So kind of came to terms was I became the senior guy in my group. I had a great group of accounts. And I kind of came into terms saying, you know what? Hey, I can do this 20 more years. I love what I do. And then the opportunity to start my own agency came out of nowhere. And when LED was really coming on, like
what year was that?
2013 is when we started the agency.
All right. So 13 is when LED, quote unquote, was coming on.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing because a lot of us, again, especially in technology, I think a lot of us, especially who are older and actually.
Why did you look at me when you said that?
Well, because you're old.
Okay.
Think about how fast technology has moved. It's called the Moore's Law of technology, right? Is that every year it doubles in terms of capacity. The computing power on our phone would fill up almost a city block right now in the 1960s.
Oh, yeah.
And so LEDs, which we all just go, hey, I'm going to go, you should change your light and go to an LED. Go to Home Depot, buy an LED. We do that today. But in 2013, when this first came out, it was avant-garde. Right. I had so many people coming to me going, hey, Chris, you should start telling everybody you're going to put in LEDs, and I'm going to be the guy who will supply you these LEDs because Home Depot doesn't have them. Of course, Home Depot has them now.
Get away, you heretic.
You are lying. LEDs are for computers. Those are for Palm. Those are for Blackberries. Oh, my God. He just said Blackberry. See, how old am I?
Come on.
All right.
I was pretty happy when I got my first BlackBerry.
I was too.
I thought I'd arrived. I'm
telling you, I was the last guy to resist. I mean, I went to the iPhone from a BlackBerry. That's how hard it was for me. And we actually have mounted my last BlackBerry up in my office and says right over it, change is inevitable. But it's at my office.
Coming to the realization that you could read your emails while you're sitting on the toilet. I mean, that's efficiency, right?
It really is. Maximize your day that way.
Well, the problem though was
the older you get,
at that
the
time
more
you thought I'm going to be
there is.
Yeah, I'm going to be super efficient. This is great. And then it's like everybody expects you to call back in 5 minutes. They send you an email, and then 20 minutes later they go, "Did you get my email?" Yeah, I know you saw it. I don't care where you are.
Guilty, by the way. I am that way. And so it sounds like we're the same. You've adopted technology, moved into it. You went to the LEDs. And so that's when you started your own agency, was seeing the LED opportunity.
Yeah. So at the time, Cree is like the brand name for LEDs, and they made chips in Raleigh, only ones in the world that weren't making them in China. You actually could go there, put on the crazy suit, and go in and watch them make LED chips. So they made chips for most of the industry.
He just said crazy suit. And the worst part is
You knew what it meant.
I did. And everybody, you should be thinking ET. And the answer is yes, I've had one of those on too. Back in my engineering days. Yeah.
So what Cree was doing was they were making their own chips for the industry. And then they finally said, hey, we should make them for our own fixtures. So they were so far ahead of everybody else. So what happened was they were going through some change. And in this market, they were trying to hire a rep, and how there's 5 or 6 reps in every market that manage one of the big lines. And Cree was always one of the smaller ones on one of these other line cards.
Really?
Yeah. At that time.
At the time, right? Think about this today, because today's world, I mean, fast forward to 2023, they're not the smallest. Are they the biggest?
No, it's
Probably.
well, so there was this I'll get to that. So
yeah, we'll go back.
There was kind of a bell shape.
The hummingbirds are starting to fly.
We're on one feeder. All right, go back. All right, go back.
Oh no. So anyway, so at that time, nobody had jumped into LED 100%. Everybody knew it was coming, but they had so much money invested in traditional manufacturing of fluorescent and incandescent fixtures that you can't just walk away from that. So Cree had the opportunity they didn't have anybody in Atlanta. And so we went and pitched an idea of being a Cree agency. We were the first Cree agent in the country. And we told them this would be perfect because we can have all the other lines that we need to fill in, but we will have the leader in these 10, 12 categories. So what happened was I went and met with them. I decided I'm going to start my own agency. And I called my current partner, who was still at Cree. And he said, how did your interview go? I go, I'm starting an agency. He goes, want a partner? And there isn't anyone I respect more professionally and like more personally than my partner Jay. He's just, it was one of those things. I could have done it alone. Sorry, Alan.
No.
I have no problem with that.
Chris can't play. Yeah, Chris can't play well.
I don't do partners.
Chris can't play well.
That's why that.
And that was one of the
reasons. Mine. You will not have that. You will not have my feet.
Oh, then I'm gonna tell you something you're gonna hate. Then, so Jay and I started the agency, and we wrote up our partnership agreement. The lawyer said, "Who's going to be 51?" And I said, "No, we're going to be 50-50." And Jay and I'm 10 years older than Jay. It was kind of my idea to get it going. I go, if we can't make a decision, I'm not going to use 1% to trump your vote. I said, no, we're going to be 50-50. And we've never had to go to arbitration. We've never really actually had a major 10 years, May 1st. Sorry.
This is a strange and confusing thing for you, Chris.
I know, truly. I'm calling Bullcree.
Bullcree.
Like I did that. All right, all right. I did. I laughed at myself. All right,
what your hangover is officially over.
All right,
you're sharp now.
I am. I'm back on. All right, I love this that you did this, because this is an opportunity, because we can always solve a problem that's not ours. It's always somebody else's. I can always solve your problem better than I can solve my own, right? Because it's not personal. And you saw an opportunity and you seized it. And there are opportunities abound all the time. And that's one of the things we talk about in entrepreneurship, is that, you know what? If you're looking, the door will open. If you are looking and somebody knocks on that door, you'll open it. You don't know who's going to open it. And a lot of times we've heard about this in a lot of our podcasts. People open that door and they had no idea they were going to go there. But this guy said, hey, come with me. Let's go do this. And they did it. And you saw this opportunity. I don't know what the next opportunity is, but that's so exciting just to be thinking about that. If you watch TV, if you sit there and do mindless shit, even on social media, think about what's that next opportunity. And it's not influencer, by the way, everybody. Find something else, because find something sustainable, find something that's going to go there. Yeah. And I know I sound like I'm an old man, but
find something that's worth a damn.
Right.
Yeah.
And there you go. So, and because LEDs clearly are worth a damn, because energy efficiency, I just got done with that study I talked about in WSB. Number 2 thing people are worried about right now in their homes, energy efficiency. I'm like, are you kidding me? They really think like that?
Are you a WSB influencer?
I am not a WSB influencer.
But
you know what?
You are
in Atlanta. You know what? They should be sponsoring my podcast, because we're just that cool. All right, back to you. I'm sorry, Tim. Back to you and your partnership, which I wholeheartedly support. Was that met with? Did I? No, I do. I love that other people.
You're incredulous that you can actually have a partnership.
You know, I love it.
Like that's why I wanted him on the shows. Because I know it's amazing. It's so rare for a partnership to be as good as the one that I have observed for years. How long have you been partners?
10 years, May 1st.
Yeah, and I mean, and they've had Now, Tim is one of those guys that, as a New Yorker would say, was born with a horseshoe shoved up his ass. However, he has had a lot of challenges, and
the horseshoe shoved up his ass through the telemarketing agency.
No.
I don't know that.
That's actually a good thing in New York terms.
Yeah.
But they've had challenges. They've had some really crazy things happen in their business, and it's really cool. I've watched
Let's talk about some of that stuff.
I've watched it. Just let me
go finish.
Yeah, no. And I mean, it is really something to see how those two work together, even if they don't necessarily agree. The partnership is super valuable to the two of them. They respect each other tremendously, and they figure it out, and it's a really cool thing to watch.
Did you guys ever think that was it? Not going to do this anymore. We're just going to have to go our separate ways.
No, they never. We've never even had a major disagreement.
So when you've
disagreed on things,
major is what I'm saying. So what's been interesting is there have been times where one of us wanted to maybe try something, like hire somebody, or try some marketing program or do something that the other person didn't agree with. But it's like, hey, if you feel strongly, let's try. But here's the thing about the partnership, and I know it sounds like cliche saying like it's in a relationship, is it's just like a marriage. You can date a lot of women, but when you find the right one, it can work. And the thing is with Jay and I,
hot?
Huh?
Is she hot?
Oh, I mean, if you're gonna go that way, of course,
she has to be.
That's
right. I just one of my buddies just got divorced, and he says, "Hey, I saw this gal. She's a really nice personality." I'm like, "Oh." He goes, "Why'd you do that?" I said, "Well, you just led with she's got a nice personality." And so he showed me a picture. I said, "You need to start with she's hot and she has a good personality." He goes, "I don't get it." I'm like, "Of course you get it." I said, "Don't do that." Because but anyway, back to our partnership. So you guys have clearly had some disagreements. How have you resolved them?
Well, a lot of it comes down to faith. So in your partner. So one of the things that I think is interesting is we knew a lot of agencies that had partners. And right after RIT started, there was a couple other popped up because now they used our format to kind of start doing this around the country. Because what happened with Cree was Acuity said to their reps, "You can't have Cree." The number 2 guy comes up, "You can't have Cree." So as it came up, fewer and fewer people were even allowed to have it on their line card. So this gave them a format to go into markets and say, we can be our own agency. But what they would typically do is there'd be a sales guy, and then there'd be like a pinhead accounting person, and those people couldn't talk in a lot of cases. With Jay and I, even though I was a sales guy, I'm a numbers guy. So I do a lot of our forecasting. Jay handles operations, but he spent most of his career in sales and marketing. So even though we kind of have different parts of the business, we get the other person can talk. And that's the biggest problem is when you sit there and look, go, oh, this person's accounting and operations, they'll be perfect to go with the sales guy and keep them in check. But if those two people can't talk, and the other part of it is your values. And this is one of the things that I've talked to Alan about a lot. There have been multiple times where we made mistakes or something happened that a lot of people would step back from, and we instead walked into and said, how do we take care of this? We've written checks when mistakes were made, and we always have kind of towed the line. And so one of the things that we always say is, what's the right thing to do? And that's not, everybody doesn't believe that.
This is a big one. When you first start your business and you're in year one and you're scraping, you're clawing, you're doing everything. I had somebody I met later, about 3 years into my business. He said, well, I have an account that says, this is how much we're going to pay back in customer refunds. I'm like, customer refunds, kiss my ass. And here I am, year 14. We have a fund, and it's 15,000. Yeah, you just know that sometimes you can't satisfy everybody, and you got to do the right thing by people. And especially in home services, what we do is not just plumbing, not just electrical, and I'm going to make fun of you, not just lighting, but we do a lot of different stuff, and sometimes things don't go right. And I hated giving money back, but now you're just like, I can't make that person happy, whether we were right or whether we were wrong. You just have to do it, and that's a hard part for people in business, I think.
So Tim, when you guys decided to become partners, how much time did you spend on hammering out your partner agreement? And the second question is if you would give advice to somebody who's thinking about going into business, thinking about a partnership, what are some things you wish you would have done different?
Well, the partnership agreement part was actually pretty easy. I had a personal friend who was a lawyer, and he was a one-man shop. So he kind of walked us through it, and it was very basic agreement. The bottom line is, you do not choose a partner unless it's someone who you have the same values, the same drive, the same direction. And that's the thing is, I never worry about, is he out playing golf? Is he working? What's he doing? I mean, I never worry about whether or not,
because you're out playing golf.
Well, yeah. So
I like this guy.
I knew you would.
Our values are aligned.
and by the way, we jumped on the thing we talked about.
Oh,
yeah,
that's another story.
Oh, look at you guys with the insights. Come on now. Huh? Hey, how about inviting another guy here on the mic?
It's a really big deal that you don't know about.
Oh, shit.
But anyway, no, I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure you got somebody that understands your values, but also understands the drive and direction of where you want to go, because we both wanted the same things in terms of what we wanted to put together. And I can't go into it, take too long to explain the lighting market, but I will say this. Lighting rep agencies in general are kind of looked down on, considered kind of like underhanded, because the way jobs are quoted is, if there's 50 different types of lights on a job, you get one price for the whole thing. So it's hard to kind of peel the onion back and understand, what am I getting? And to have people trust that you're giving them the right number and working with them is the key. So that's one of the things. But I would say, have someone that has the same values, goals, and directions that you want to have.
All right. So just for everybody in your business and in our listening to this, you can share your top line revenue or not. But if you wanted to mention, how many employees do you have? How big are you?
Sure.
So we'd love to hear that.
So we have 2 offices in Atlanta. We have 20 employees. So we started with 1, or we'll start with 2. And then there's a separate office that covers South Georgia that has 12. So we've got 32 covering the state of Georgia. And one thing we learned early on is, we initially covered the whole state. And I was in Albany on a job, and I had the general contractor.
Oh, I know how to say it. Albany.
Yeah. So I had a general contractor sitting there with his arms crossed, kind of glaring at me, and I'm talking, and he's just looking at me and goes, "Where are you from?" I knew Detroit was not a good answer. So I said, "I moved here from Kentucky, kind of in the middle, neutral during the Civil War. Thought that'd be okay." No, he goes, "No, not where you. Where do you live?" And I go, "Atlanta." And he goes, "You're a bunch of carpetbaggers, Yankees anyway, so it really doesn't matter." Said to my face. So what ended up happening was, we ended up partnering with a rep who had been in Central and South Georgia for 13 years before we met. So they cover the South, we cover Atlanta, which is a big part of the business. But so that's worked out really well too.
Nice. And so 20 employees get into the business you are now.
Yeah.
Do you have an exit strategy at this point?
I'm 58. So that's one of the things that we're talking about right now is me and my partner, he's 10 years younger than me. We've got employees in place inside. We've actually been approached by people outside. There's one of the things that could happen is there's some large agencies that are in adjacent territories that, if they wanted to move to Atlanta, which would be the big step, could be. But so there's 3 or 4 different kind of scenarios that would work out. I want to keep doing this for a number of years. The probably most likely thing is there would be a transition, whether it's somebody outside buys us or whether we transition in, that I would keep doing what I'm doing to a lesser and lesser extent as I kind of walk out. But I love what I'm doing.
All right. So advice for us as again, you were young, you moved up, you moved in the lighting business, you stayed in the lighting business. 52 and 58 for us, it sounds old to a lot of us, but we don't feel old. I mean, we joke about this. Alan and I do all the time, and Alan's speechless right now because I'm going to say this, but we have more to do. We have a lot more to give back to the world and what we want to do. So what do you want to do in the next 10 years? Because I feel like right now I'm so excited about the next 10 years that I can't stand myself.
So a couple things that I kind of like to see is, I want to end strong. I want to build something that when I'm not limping out at the end, I want to leave something that's steamrolling ahead and still growing and diversifying. We don't have the time here, but there are so many things that we have done that are so different than the normal lighting rep agent in terms of how we've gone after the market and what we've done. I want to continue to do that. I want to break barriers. But personally, I was divorced for 10 years. I got remarried in March, and Alan read at my wedding. He was amazing. So I got married in March. Yeah. And, so I want to explore the world in terms of personal things. I want to go do some of that. But one of the things that was really exciting to me is I go to North Point Church, and I got to take high school students on mission trips 2 years in a row. and they were life changing. I mean, I can't, I'm almost getting choked up just even thinking about the trips. So I want to make sure that I do two things. I want to make sure I have fun. I want to make sure I enjoy life and we're enjoying things. And I took my kids to Costa Rica.
Tim.
Yeah, fun Tim. There you go. But I also
That's 6 letters.
but I also want to make sure that I'm doing something to give back. And so that's the balance is making sure that you're living your best life, which you're enjoying, but you're doing something for other people. And actually that was one thing me and my wife have been talking about is the next place that we want to serve is do something together. Because I've been in a men's group with Alan for 10 and a half years.
Mhm.
Alan met me probably my lowest point. We just got divorced. I'm going through this mess. And then he got to go through this whole process and then read at my wedding with my current wife. So it's been neat, this process we've shared. But giving back and having something to do that's important. Those are the two things.
So I love what you just said on so many fronts, but I'm going to hit the one that I'm passionate about and Alan is going to help me with. I would love to help give back to other young entrepreneurs or people in college who don't really know where they're going. And so we're going to do another summer entrepreneurship class this year. This is January.
Yeah, what you've done is amazing there.
And
already.
I want to do it again this summer, and I really want to make it big. And I'm going to promote it a lot more this year. I'm actually going to get together with somebody who's going to help me with that this week, or I'm sorry, next week. And people ask me, Chris, why do you do it? And I said, I do it because I get so much energy back. They're like, and how is it received? Unfortunately, one year it was not received very well. I didn't get a lot of people, and it was really disheartening. And it really knocked me down. And it's taken me 6 months, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going back after it. You know what? I got knocked down, but this is only round 2. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back out of round 3, and I'm a fighter. And God damn it, I'm going to help you. I don't give a shit if you don't want my help. I'm going to help you because you need my help. You know why? Because other individuals, other adults aren't going to help you. I'm here. And so let's do this.
The world is a better place because of people like you guys.
I love that.
But you know what? The thing that's a challenge is if you're in high school or college, nobody understands what the makeup of businesses look like. They don't understand the difference between corporate, entrepreneur. I mean, they don't understand that. I spent so much time with my son. He went to Georgia. He was a business major, talking just about what real companies look like because you don't know. And that's one of the things that I think these young people don't understand coming out of college is what are my options really? I'm just trying to find a job.
I didn't know.
They don't know. I mean, I remember when I interviewed with Lalvani the first time, I interviewed for a trainee program, which were people just out of college. Well, I'd been out for 2 years. So they said, you're kind of overqualified. I almost walked away and didn't even call them again. I didn't realize they were the biggest lighting company in North America and almost the world. I walked away. And then I ended up getting a call back from that little division. The guy said, hey, the person you interviewed with said that you were pretty sharp and I should give you a call. Can you come in? I had no idea. I had no idea. When I walked into the place and saw how big it was, I didn't know how many opportunities it laid out there. And that's what's so sad, that people just don't know.
I know. And that's, it's so important for me to get this message out because I just, with my own kids, I do it, but nobody listens to dad. But they listen to other people.
They sure do.
They sure don't listen to dad. Right. But they sure listen to other people. And I think had I was given all these other opportunities in my life at 17, and I was given a ton, my parents were amazing. They gave me every opportunity in the world, and I had a chance. I was very pig-headed. I was an Italian. That's the way I rolled. But I didn't know this wild world of the world was out there. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, and I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and now I am. And I can't tell you. Somebody asked me in another podcast, were you afraid to start your own business? I said I was more afraid to be 60 years old and never know if I could have done it.
Yeah, man.
Than not doing it. And that's what drove me. I said, so people think it's positivity. It was fear that drove me. And my fear was that. So Tim, it was so nice to meet you. This is exciting.
We need him back.
All right. We're going to get him back.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back and we're going to be on point. We're going to sell a lot of freaking lights for Cree. Or not Cree. What's the name of your company?
Next Generation Lighting. Cree is one of our main lines. So you can sell Cree. That'd be great. In fact, almost every MARTA station you walk into, and if you walk on the Beltline, anywhere in the city, those are all light fixtures.
You got lights in Atlanta, you call Tim. And Tim, how do people get a hold of you?
I mean, he fixed the lights in your studio with just words.
Just with words. You know what? He literally looked at my lights and he said, no, be better. And
we
boom,
we
I
look
was
like dead fish, and then all of a
now
sudden-
we look alive.
I know.
And you know what? I don't have the bags. Well, actually, I still have the bags.
yeah, those things.
Honestly, the
Go
easiest
cow.
the easiest place to find us is just Google next generation lighting.
Next generation lighting. Thank you so much. But we have to ask you a couple questions.
Absolutely.
And Alan has maybe asked another one.
I can ask it if you don't want to ask it, but
I'm gonna ask
I don't know if Tim's a big book guy.
Are you a book guy?
No.
Well, then we're gonna skip number one. Let's go to number. Let's go to number 1A.
Well, hang on. I have a handful that I really love. Wild at Heart.
Yeah,
Best book-
okay. I was just gonna say, what's an
All right, how about this one?
influential book?
What's the one movie that if you're scrolling through?
Let's give him a chance with the book.
All right, give me the book.
Yeah, Wild at Heart.
I don't even know what that book is.
Oh, it's amazing.
You need to
so
know
it's okay. It's a Christian book, but it's not like a C.S.
I
Lewis.
think we figured out why you don't.
No. No,
So
Come
Catholic.
on, man.
No,
You're with us.
No, what it does is it talks about how God made men. And honestly, our whole men's group is about that. We literally sit around a fire pit. It's called Fire Pit, and there's a whole
Yeah.
thing on Fire Pit. We literally sit around a fire pit and have our men's group. And there's times where Alan cooked paella in a 22-inch paella pan over stoves. We've eaten steaks with our bare hands. So it's about that. But it's just a great book. That's my favorite book I've ever read and enjoyed.
All right. What is the favorite feature of your house?
Oh, this is easy. It's the cocktail / cigar lounge.
Nice.
This is okay. This might be the second wife syndrome, but no. This is amazing. So I had a dining room. It was basically more of a storage room, and my wife said, "Why don't we make that like a cigar lounge?" I go, "What do you mean?" And so she ordered 6 big velvet chairs.
Did Nicole ever say that to you, Chris?
I'm the first wife. And
So-
by the way, I'm on my last one.
So it's the dining room
Until she lets you know otherwise.
Yeah. Well,
So Alan's seen it. Pretty.
It's awesome.
It's a pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I have a pool right out of right off of the kitchen. So it's not it's like, so the whole kitchen area leads into the pool, and that's great. I'd rather we sit in the cigar lounge. But what's nice is
it is spectacular.
we have dinner, grab a glass of wine. We sit up there. There's no TV. It's just me and my wife or friends, and you just talk and you enjoy spending time together. It's a beautiful.
favorite glass of wine?
What's that?
Favorite wine?
Well, there's a couple. There's Belgloss is one of my favorites.
All right, good
good
Pinot.
Etude went to. We actually
You'd love that.
You went there. So those are 2 of my favorites that I actually can afford and
Okay.
and buy at a normal.
Well, as long as we're talking about affordability, I can't tell you my favorite, but I can tell you my favorite that I've tasted is Screaming Eagle.
Really,
You know how much that goes for a bottle?
Mm-mm.
$3,000.
I've never spent
And-
more than $10 on a bottle of wine.
Well, we talked about that before. You are horrible, and that's why we do not talk about wine, and that's why I do not listen to Alan when it comes to wine, because he does not know wine. Chris does, and I'm not a wine snob. All right, number 2, you're out there in customer, getting service and doing everything, because we're customer service freaks. Let's go. What is the biggest pet peeve you have when people are taking care of you?
all right. So it's kind of funny because pet peeve should be 1, and I always met people that go, "Well, that's one of my pet peeves." I go, "Well, that's like the 19th pet peeve you've told me." And pet peeve is supposed to be 1, but for customer service specifically, it's lack of response. And in my business, I remember when we started, we had so many people come back to us because we would respond to their email. We'd call them back. I remember Jay, my partner, one time goes, "This isn't rocket science, is it?" Because he had not been a rep. He'd been in the lighting, but not a rep. I go, "Call them back, do the basic things. You're at a restaurant. Show up at the table. Just basic customer first, taking care of people. Response."
Isn't
That's
it
it.
amazing how often we say that? And,
It's just-
we've heard this over
Yeah.
and over and over. And why don't people do it? Because you lack freaking discipline, people. Get disciplined. It's
People
so hard.
suck.
Okay, can I give you my 1A though?
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is customer service or just the world. It's social media and our phones. It's just shocking how much people just you can't stand in line at a McDonald's or waiting for your dry cleaning and just stand there. You have to be looking at your phone. You got to do something. And we did something like you had asked for this podcast, is turn your phone off, which my phone's off. Not everybody.
My phone was not on.
Yes,
I'm so impressed with you, Chris, or Tim, to be without your phone
No,
for an
so
hour.
the rule that Jay and I have is if you are in our conference room, and what happens is we represent 100 lines. So we have people in all the time. They're doing training, they're updating us and stuff. we do not allow our employees to bring their cell phones in to meetings unless it's, hey, I have a sick kid. I'm waiting for a call on a huge project. So they've come to us and we're like, yeah, you can have your phone. But as a rule, the slippery slope is we got a couple people that got smartwatches.
Oh,
And then they're like,
all slopes are slippery.
Let's talk about this one for a minute. So number one, you're right. We are in a distracted world.
What?
And distracted world.
I'm sorry.
It's still what?
Okay.
What? Yeah. So here, distracted world. What?
I got a shiny thing here.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, hi,
What? Where am I? Hello. So I do the same thing. If I'm standing in line, I got to be on my phone because, well, I'm here and what do I want to do?
Too.
Look around people. And there's times where, especially when I was in Vegas, all I did was look at people because the people watching is amazing. But going back to meetings, I have one lady who works for me and I love her to pieces. But she is the most ADD girl I've ever met in my life, and especially when it comes to her kids.
That is a pot calling the kettle black,
right?
there,
And hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I can identify it.
Yeah.
Because you know why? I'm black.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pot. No, I'm a pot. I'm a kettle. I don't know. I'm not black. I'm whatever. So hey, don't distract me. I'm Sicilian. But what? All right. So she comes in. I'm like, you can't bring your phone in. I've had it. You got to stop. She has a freaking phone on. She has the Apple phone on. She outsmarted me. And so she hits it. She looks down at it. And I lost my shit. I went nuts. I'm like, Janessa, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? She goes, I just didn't know I had it on. I said, take the watch off. Put the watch outside the door.
Yep.
We still have to talk. I said, because you know why? I said, I'm only asking you for 30 minutes. I said, I employ you for the entire week. I just want 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking for. If you give me 30 minutes today, I swear to God, I'll leave you alone for the rest of the goddamn week. And she was like, okay.
Well, and the other thing is, like, for us, I got someone who bought a plane ticket to fly in. They're paying for a hotel. They're away from their family. They're spending multiple days to work with our agency to help us sell their product and to be partners. And we're going to have people sitting there on their freaking phones the whole time. No, that's so.
Yeah.
So that was literally day one. That was one of the things we came up with.
All right. So now I will tell back on myself. So with my kids, they were teenagers and I'm still running my business and we'd be sitting down and we were very big about the family dinner, right? But my kids played sports through high school and family dinners became just a thing of the past. And when we would sit down, that phone would go off and I would get it, especially running my own business. And so my daughter looks at me and goes,
Do better.
oh yeah. No, she looked at me and she goes, Dad, I thought you said be focused on your family and you are doing this. I said, I was just turning on music for you to listen to. I just
God
absolutely
put
flipping
your
lied.
daughter in your life to keep you in
Oh my
check.
God. And I did. I looked at her and I said, I just was turning on music so we can listen to music while we were listening to dinner. I was lying my ass off, right?
Oh.
Don't worry. Saturday came and it was all solved. No, okay. Oh, that was awesome. Great conversation on that one. Customer service.
Yep.
All right. Number 3. Here's my favorite. Being in the remodeling industry, and we do home services here, and we do a lot of handyman work, and I've seen and been in over 15,000 houses since I've done this stuff. What is your biggest DIY nightmare story?
Oh, so during COVID, we had our basement remodeled, and the two guys that did the work were absolutely horrible. They didn't. I'm just kidding. Alan and the other guy in my men's group helped redo the basement. I figured I had to. No, they did during COVID.
I know your basement, by the way.
Yeah,
I've seen pics.
Oh, there you go. No, it was pretty funny because my original plan was stain the concrete, got a pool table, paint the walls, and move on. And Alan's like, not on my watch. So there's like beautiful like trim everywhere. I mean, it was great. But I don't have a whole lot of DIY like nightmares because, as Clint Eastwood said, the enforcer, a man's got to know his limitations. So I enjoy painting and doing that stuff. So I don't normally get myself in a situation where I'm going to be in there. Although in the said cocktail lounge, to wallpaper the top half basically of a dining room. So a couple of windows. I mean, nothing. I mean, super easy. $1,750 was the cheapest I could find someone to come out and do that. So I said, all right. So I start.
By the way, I paid double.
Yeah. So
Personally, I'm in the business.
no, I know. And so I was like, I don't mind paying for expertise, but I was like, that's ridiculous. So kind of funny thing. So I watched about 20 YouTube videos and I wallpapered once and I said, never do it again, but so I can do this. So I did the version where you put the glue on the wall and then you put the paper up. So I did one section and stopped, and I wanted to see how it looked the next day. And one thing I noticed, I did exactly what all 20 YouTube videos said, is I put the wallpaper, I butted up against each other, not overlap. But what happened was because it was, and so I noticed when I came back that they were kind of creasing and like moving in together. So I watched another YouTube video. And the guy says, if you're putting glue on the wall first, make sure you leave a gap. I'm like, where the hell were you? My first 20 videos. What happened?
And welcome to DIY Nightmare Story. Tim, you walked into one. I love it. You know what, everybody? You should always hire a professional if you're not sure. There are things that we're all willing to take a chance on, but there are things that here's the reason. Why do you pay somebody to come out and do what they're doing? It's not for the hour or 2 hours they're there or the 25 hours they're there. It's for the 50,000 hours before that.
Absolutely.
That became an expert to figure out that that's what happens. And so I love hearing that, because that's why I said I would pay double, because not all wallpaper is built the same.
Yep.
And you have to know, not only there are so many nuances to it. This is truly like, if you're an artist and you love painting, you can paint in acrylics, you can paint in oil, you can you have to know what medium you're working with, and that's wallpaper, and that is crazy.
Well, so I'll tell you so how the story ended was I called my niece, who's very particular about decor, and I said, I did this first section, what do you think? And she goes, you did a great job. And I pointed out the mistakes I made. She goes, no one will notice. And so I did the rest of the room. And the amazing thing was, I ordered the wallpaper from Neiman Marcus because I found the exact one I wanted. I used the last roll on the last one. Literally the last full piece I had. If I had messed up one section, I would have been done. We would have been screwed.
And that goes to the horseshoe up his ass.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's all Tim. All your
what?
Stories are like that.
All right, but seriously, everybody needs a horseshoe up their ass, and they need Tim.
I know.
Not necessarily up their ass, but we need to talk about this a little bit more. But we're gonna have to talk about it the next time. So, Adventure Team, go out there, like us, rate us, review us. We just want to hear about you a little bit. Go ahead and DM me a little bit, customerservice.freak on Instagram, or you can always hit me at Chris at the Trusted Toolbox. We're out of here. Let's go.
Cheers, baby.
Thanks, guys.